Hi everyone, welcome back to episode 6 of making this prototype knife on the run up to Sydney Knife Show. Last week I made the inside of these handles. So this week I'm going to move on to making the back spacer and the blade. The reason I'm not going to finish the handles is because I want to be able to test the mechanism and everything like that as soon as possible. If I need to make any changes into the CAD model and all that sort of stuff, then I'd rather do that sooner than try and finish the handles, then make the back spacer, then make the blade and all that sort of stuff. So that's why I'm doing the back spacer and the blade next. Today the plan is to mill out the back spacer first, and then I'll surface grind some steel for the blade and then look at milling that out as well. First things first, I just need to top up the coolant on the CNC. So I'll do that, warm up the CNC and then get cracking into it. This is the coolant I use, Hengstefers 5080. I mix it with 5 litres of water to a small amount that I've marked here on the jug. So I'll mix that up. I'll probably need about 3 buckets worth to get things going, and then it'll be good to run the CNC. I use a refractometer to tell me the concentration levels of the coolant, and then I mix in, to top it up, a reduced strength mix so that I'm not getting my coolant mixture too strong. Well, I've got my stock all set up for making this back spacer. While I've got it set up, I thought I'd give a bit of a quick discussion about prototyping versus production kind of methodologies. So the back spacer that I'm going to make is, roughly something like that. For prototyping, I'm going to cut it out of a much larger part and using kind of what's called the window method. So I'll be cutting out, drilling all those holes, facing it to the correct thickness, and then going around the outside, and I'll leave some tabs or something so that it doesn't fall out while I'm making it. A lot of this prototyping stuff doesn't even involve making parts. If I'm testing a recipe or something like that, I'll just cut pockets or things like that just to test out the recipe for the end mills to make sure that I'm getting a good finish. And the same applies to what we did in the first episode with trying to do the dimensions correctly for the pivots and the finishes for the 3D contoured parts. So quite often, prototyping doesn't even involve making a part. For this, production-wise, the window method seems kind of wasteful. So for production, you could start with something that's water jet closer to the dimension of the back spacer. But at this point, I'm not even sure that the back spacer is going to be the final CAD design. So I don't want to go down the path of getting parts water jet cut out and all that sort of stuff just yet. One thing that I did consider was using the blanks for my keyring pry bars and cutting them out of that, so I could clamp it down at either end and profile around it, and then just nip off the end bits, but then that would be creating a fixture for that, and how do I hold it down afterwards to do the end part, say, to cut. And it was just a little bit more thought that needs to go into that. It's worthwhile doing for the handles, but I figured just for prototyping I'll probably start with something like this and get the first part made, and then look at doing something like that with the stock that I use for my keyring pry bars after that, and see how it goes. So I'm ready to run the back spacers now. The first thing I'm just going to do is take this layer of scale off the titanium, and then I'll flip it over and just do that window part. That means both sides will be machined. This will sit parallel to the jaws of the vise, and away we go. There's the back spacer all machined. Now I'll take it off the mill and use the bandsaw to just cut that last tab free through here, and then I'll be able to see how it fits on compared to the handles that we've made. So that's getting exciting. It's starting to be able to put the knife together and do a test fit. I'll be doing the surface grinding this afternoon, so I'll clean up the mill now and get everything ready for doing the blade tomorrow. The blade is going to be RWL 34. I've cut off a section here to try out, and that's what I'm going to be surface grinding this afternoon. I'll take it down from 3.2 millimeters to 3 millimeters eventually, so probably be slightly larger than that for the milling operation, just so that I can leave some room for cleaning it up afterwards. So the plan is to mill out all the parts of the mechanism and the overall profile using that same window method, and then I'll heat treat it and grind the blade after heat treatment. Well, I was just tidying up at the end of the day and I realized that with the backspacer made, that's the second part that's completed with the machining for this prototype. So yeah, that got me kind of thinking, tomorrow if I can get the blade made, there's a good chance that I can get it heat treated during the week. And then next weekend, I've got the outside of the handles to make, and then that's everything needed for the complete prototype. So had some really good progress, and I'm kind of excited that maybe next weekend I can have the initial prototype made and done, ready to check out. Don't want to jinx myself, so we'll see what happens next weekend, but it's been some really good progress so far, and fingers crossed it all goes well. So keep following along with the YouTube videos each week and see what happens.